indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 8th, 2025 regular meeting?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're gonna do public comment on agenda items listed. We'll start with the first row.
I'm here for the Joe Jazzy if you have any questions.
Second row? Okay. Just stand up. I know you know who you are, but say it anyway.
Dawn Geschwind, 305 Anna Avenue. I have a statement that I want to read, and it's in reference to Melrose Place. As a fellow board member of the Melrose Place Homeowners Association, which, just so you know, we don't even know what it's really called because there's 3 different names on all the documentation, and authorized to speak on behalf of the constituent members thereof, I would like to address the issue of releasing escrow funds related to the Melrose Place development. Since the Foligno attorney is present tonight, this is an appropriate time to raise serious concerns about how the development was left by the Foligno group. The development was left in disarray. Foligno did not adhere to the declaration or the bylaws originally presented to us as homeowners. In March of 2023, they attempted to form a homeowners association board and asked residents to take on officer roles without providing essential information such as proof of insurance, lawn maintenance costs, tax documentation, or any financial records. We declined to assume responsibility under those conditions because the process was not conducted in good faith, nor in accordance by the bylaws that had been provided to us when we purchased our homes. We received no further communication from Foligno until the final week of December 2023, when we were told that as of January 1, they would no longer be responsible. At that time, they provided a packet containing documents riddled with errors and inconsistencies. These included an insurance policy that failed to cover the detention pond for liability, a fabricated budget not based on actual expenses, and legal documents referring to the HOA under 3 different names, some of which were manually altered with handwritten changes without proper resubmission to the county or state. Since then, we, the homeowners, have spent over a year trying to clean up this mess, identifying residents, hiring legal counsel, and figuring out how to move forward as a functioning HOA. Critically, Foligno relinquished control just after being notified in December of 2023 that Pond Lot 1 had deficiencies requiring correction within 10 days. They did not make those required repairs. That pond is now the HOA's responsibility, and we do not yet know the full cost of bringing it into compliance. Therefore, prior to taking any action regarding the escrow monies in question, the Homeowners Association respectfully requests and strongly urges the Township Board of Supervisors to stay and table any further discussions until we have had the opportunity to present all pertinent facts for your due consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else in row 2? Row 3? Row 4? Row 5?
I have a question. On your agenda, you said, Heidi, for the record, under new business, you said, consider action proposals for professional services and adopt appropriate resolutions. What professional services are you looking at? Because it's not specific. All professional
Yeah, all
services.
professional services that we are being dealt with right now, we're looking at it for,
Across the board.
yeah,
Engineer,
correct,
solicitor.
cost savings.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
No. Tim Wales, 216 Sophia Boulevard. I would also like to jump on board with what Dawn stated regarding the Melrose Place, confirm what she said. Also, point out that there have been numerous flooding events in Melrose Place, at least 7, which seems to indicate inadequate design and or construction of stormwater facilities. And other concerns, the plan required an impervious liner into the stormwater ponds. And I guess I'd like to see evidence that's happened before any money is given back to the Felinos, because I think that could be very expensive to get that property line. And in fact, the fact that there are trees growing in the pond would seem to indicate that it's not appropriately lined. Additionally, the approved plan cited the declaration and bylaws for Melrose Place, which Dawn previously mentioned. And they require the developer to bear all costs of the setup and initial operation of the community association. So I agree with Dawn's perspective. No additional money should be given back. And I do wonder how much is left. Initially, there should have been over $380,000, and how much of that has been returned, how much do you still have? Do you know?
Yes, so three things for Tim's comments. The impervious liner was inspected when it was installed as part of the development. The trees growing out of the detention basin were part of a corrective action plan that was implemented by the Conservation District with no input from the township in 2014. We're stuck with it the way that it is, and that is on the recorded corrective action plan from 2017 at the Recorder of Deeds. The amount in the escrow is $43,314.14.
But just to clarify, is that in the HOA escrow? Is that in the
No,
Melrose Place?
That's the Melrose Place Improvements escrow from the plan that began the review process in 2002.
See,
Township.
and that was 43,000.
$43,314.14.
Thank you.
I have a question. Joel Voice, 284 West Wall Street Drive. You said that originally there was a liner put into that basin.
There is still a liner in the basin.
How did the liner get imperviated?
They added the strip with the trees after the fact. I don't know if roots have punched through, but that is the plan that the Conservation District wanted implemented in 2014 and 2017 without township input.
So the conservation came in and took it upon themselves to possibly imperviate the liner, which could have caused the situation. Is that possible?
So what happened was that NPDES permit for stormwater expired before all the improvements were installed. And so in order to get their NPDES permit renewed, they had to meet new regulations. But this was not a township issue, it was a PADEP issue, which is why the conservation did all the review and approval. I can't speak to whether or not the liner has been punctured or not. I'm not an engineer and I haven't looked at it.
No, and I appreciate your answer, because I'm just trying to figure out where the contractor still is held responsible to make sure that it doesn't get imperviated, even if there is a change. And I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
So can I just say, as a resident of Melrose Place, I'm very concerned by that, because the reason for the liner is that geologically, it's an area prone to sinkhole development. So now, if there are perforations through for tree roots, it puts an increased risk of sinkhole in the pond, which is a cost that Melrose Place owners should not have to bear.
I can provide you with the corrective action plan from 2017 with all the calculations if you'd like, Tim.
I don't doubt that, but I'm concerned about the
No, I'm just saying if you want to review it.
the turnover from the Felinos to us, with this not being known to us at the time. But yes, I would appreciate that.
Just go on to the Northern Berks Regional Police Report. I'm just gonna briefly go over it. The meeting was held on, this past Monday. So Maidencreek had 384 calls for service. Maidencreek had 78 citations handed out. There was 56 traffic warnings given out. 105 vehicle contacts. There were 3 arrests made. There were 13 crashes. There was a total of 887 month hours, which turned out to be 29 day hours. Also at the police commission meeting, it was brought up and approved Viper vehicle.
There's some equipment that was authorized for the police department to help their investigative needs.
Just to summarize the technical term of it.
Yeah,
And there was also approval for another patrol car to replace one that we're gonna take out of service for going forward. So that was the approvals. It was a very brief in and out meeting, so everything was going well. Alrighty, engineering, Pamela.
Sorry, I'm not hit traffic. I have 4 items tonight. First is JoJo's, and it looks like without my glasses, I can see somebody got a haircut.
I needed it.
So Dan, do you wanna share the good news? You're finally getting to,
Getting this thing done, so, and Brad's anxious to get building so that we can get that place cleaned up finally.
so they were able to work and get the plans cleaned up, so they're ready to be approved and recorded. And since this is all private, there's really no improvement agreement, but I wasn't sure about the stormwater, but definitely no public improvements.
No public improvements.
Now, they do have an NPDES permit, which, again, like we heard, is, all dictated by the Conservation District and DEP. So I think that's why we were discussing just really what will we be doing with the stormwater. Maybe future phases.
Well, what we have done is, if you look at the plan, we have put in, some of it is built because when Brad bought the property, the water was just sheeting down across, down the Maidencreek Road. So we installed a swale and 2 other basins to hold the water back before he builds his building and that'll be in place for if we do any other changes in the future with the impervious areas that are out there, and it already has stormwater in place. The building he plans to build will be up on top of the hill there, and there's another basin that needs to be constructed at that time.
But your NPDES permit covers the whole
Oh,
property.
yeah, the NPDES permit covers the whole.
Right. The whole property.
Do we want to know an agreement though?
That's up to you guys.
We're doing on it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's good to have it.
Very
That's
minimal.
straightforward, yeah.
It's minimal involvement, but
Yeah.
definitely no public improvements or an improvements agreement, just
So
stormwater.
the O&M, just for the public, you guys know, is just that it tells this property owner and any future property owners that it's their responsibility to maintain the stormwater improvements as designed to do what they're supposed to do. If they don't do it, it gives the township the right to go on the property, fix it, and then lien the property. So it is good just to have it there. I don't know if there's any intent to sell it, it doesn't sound like it, but if it would sell, it gives that notice to a future property owner.
Well, the NPDES permit, when you get that approved, you're supposed to record the post-construction plan, and that puts future owners on those too.
It's just belts and suspenders,
Yeah.
that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So the first thing you'll do is approve the waiver, section 190.14.A.2, to allow the plan scale to be 1 inch equals 80 feet.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then to approve the plan, you're going to make it conditional upon completion of all items in the May 28th STP letter and signature on an O&M agreement for stormwater.
May 28th or
May.
29th? Is that gonna be by the planning commission or?
Yeah, May 28th.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Does the solicitor prepare the agreement?
Yeah, the solicitor will prepare it. So we'll start getting signatures, Dan, and then we'll send you a draft of the agreement for your
Okay.
client to get signatures on.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make that.
Yeah, you got there. What I just handed you, Diane, is the next item on the agenda, which is the notice to proceed for the 2025 annual work. We just got the contracts in the other day. So I'm recommending that authorization to execute those, and then H&K will work with Keith for the notice to proceed date.
So motion to, proceed with the 2025 annual road work.
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Next, as I walked in, I heard about the Melrose Basin escrow release request.
But we didn't, it was just your public comments, so.
Right, but I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
heard there was public comment, so
Right.
I know there's people here. We took photos, which were shared with everybody, they're part of the report. We have done many inspections, and it's not being maintained. You can see the debris is still there. It was, several days, if not maybe even more than a week, that the past rain event happened. And the inlet structure's packed solid, and there still were remnants of debris around the outlet structure. So my recommendation for the 43,000 is to table. That's fine, it's your decision, but it's my recommendation. It's just not being maintained like it should be.
Need a motion on that.
I was
May I
gonna
make
say,
a comment?
did you wanna?
Yeah, honestly, I'm here on behalf of the client, Lydia Folino, just a few points of clarification. Two basins, one of them is owned as part of the, commercial property that's owned by Lydia. That, is the basin that I believe Pam indicated she had pictures of, that's not being maintained. We did discuss with, Davis, they have a professional going out that's supposed to be maintaining it. It was recently improved again, so I have pictures I presented to you guys of that. And he's supposed to be going out weekly. I also have in that packet a contract we have with him to maintain it weekly, and that's even in the off-season when he's not cutting the grass. My understanding is that it is clear, but when it rains every day, you can't get out there every single day.
That's what it's looking like right now.
I disagree.
Lot
I think the pictures you have are from yesterday or the day before, so I don't know when that picture is from.
Could be I can go out today specifically.
So actually,
So
I
they-
didn't
when-
go out today.
So they,
No.
when the I think what happens is when the landscaper goes out, typically they don't go out if it's wet, because they can't cut the grass. We did notify him to go out regardless, whether it's raining or not, once a week, a certain day of the week, so that it's always done. But basically what he's told us is when it's sunny and he goes and cuts the grass, he clears it out. So there are updated pictures in that packet I gave you that are from 2 days ago, so I believe without rain in the past 2 days, that's what it looks like. Aside from the maintenance, they have improved it a couple times. It's only, my understanding is it's only failed one time in 20-some years, that specific basin, to the point where it's flooded homes. I think what the members of the community are discussing is the other basin, which is part of the HOA. The HOA, just to touch on that briefly, Masano Bradley legally turned that over in 2023. My clients have always followed what their engineer and the professionals tell them to do in terms of remediating it and creating it, what the conservation district tells them to do. They go by what the professionals tell them. I know it's inspected then by the township. I think part of the problem is out of their hands. You have Norfolk across the street. We all know, I've been trying to get a hold of them for 2 years now to try to get their portion cleaned up. It's impossible. And we've just had a few situations where there's an overabundance of rain. But I think we've repaired it now to the point where it hasn't failed since then.
Well, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna back you up, because it's not, that statement's not true,
Which,
the flooding part. Every time there's, I'm gonna say, doesn't have to be a traumatic rain event, but anytime there's a big rain event, if this isn't the problem, it's the road out front of the pharmacy. There's 2 inlets out there that are completely packed solid, and when it floods, it comes up into that parking area, into the roadway, blocks that roadway almost completely, and then it floods in between the two buildings. And I was out there physically with Stefano and looked at this, and the swale that's in between those two buildings, you can visually see it. You don't need a transit, you can see it, it's going the wrong direction. So that's not helping get the water off the roadway, and we can't have that either. I mean, it's completely failing that whole end of the community down there.
Since this remediation?
Oh, yeah, it flooded, we had that rain like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and it was water on the parking lot. I got videos of it and everything from people sending videos to me. The water was over the road in between the parking lot, so.
So, I mean, if we're going by the plans of the engineer and it's getting approved, I don't know what else they can do. You know, this money is meant to be released after the improvements are made, it's not for maintenance. We're going on technically 20-some years, we're going on 5 years since the 43,000 was implemented. Like Mr. Fry just indicated to Mr. Lonslaughter, those maintenance agreements are basically state, if there's an ongoing issue, the borough, the township has the ability to go in, remediate, and then lien the property if the developer doesn't adhere to what they're supposed to do. The developer, Stefano, as you know, has always remediated. I mean, he doesn't, he's been out there how many times?
After hassles, it's not a direct thing. I've been involved with it, talking to him, and it's not a direct
I
response
know
right
at least in
away.
the past 2 or 3 years, he's been out there 4 or 5 times.
There's a good chance, yeah, 'cause we got on him pretty hard about it.
4 or 5 different times.
I'm saying, we've gotten on them pretty good about it. Pretty much every time there's a major rain event, I get a phone call from a resident out there, and I make a spin by to take a look at it.
Specifically for this basin?
Specifically for this basin. In fact, really, that other basin I don't really go down to, because that's not as much of an issue as this one. It has its own issues, but this one's got a lot of its own right here. This one affects people. That one there, I'm gonna say it doesn't really affect those in the development. It does, because they're financially handling it, but this one here, when this goes over, this one's the one that's flooding people's houses.
So what has the $43,000 been used for?
Nothing.
Nothing,
I
and
mean,
it's
we-
not meant to be used for that.
It's meant
I don't
for, if
think
you
that-
guys don't fix it, we do it to cover our costs.
Not after 18 months, and there's a maintenance agreement that by law,
Well,
you
I'm
have
saying
to
that's not
release
really
it.
a maintenance thing like this point. So the maintenance is, to me, is cleaning out the grate, and making sure the debris out of there. But if we gotta go in here and take a look at this to make this work, that's where that cost is
And
coming.
we've done that 3 times,
Nothing's changed.
precisely. So we followed the engineer's plans 3 different times, have spent $50,000 plus going through and doing this. So without Norfolk Railroad here, unfortunately, that is always gonna get compacted every time it rains. It's coming from across the street, obviously, I mean, that's the only place.
Well, I think a
rain
lot of
goes
that
to.
debris that's getting clogged up in the grate that I have on this photo here is from the field that's getting sucked into that inlet. Because that's a long pipe that goes from the railroad track, under Park Road, all the way down to those 2 inlets that are down there.
So, and I'm not saying this to be smart, in all honesty, what is your suggestion? Because we've
We'd like to
asked
see a pond,
engineers,
we'd like to see a pond across the street, that empty lot.
that's
and-
not our lot,
and-
that's not our
Oh,
lot.
I've sat down at the table with Stefano, and what was the other
It's
gentleman's
Frank
name?
or Gold.
Ken Schneider. We sat down at the table, we talked about it, we met out in the field. Actually, during the rain event, it was raining when we were there.
Right.
And, sat down at the table, and we going back and forth, and now I'm ghosted.
That's Frank Goldie's lot. You can look up on public record, he's not my
Stefano said,
client.
Stefano sat here at the table, and we said we could figure this out, so, but we haven't heard anything since. But we have, but they're supposed to go back and then reconvene and come back again, and nothing's happened.
Well, my understanding is there were further discussions about other development, and it just didn't come to fruition. So,
On their behalf, because they presented it, we said, let's look at this and we'll figure something out, but nothing's ever
you
happened.
can't
so,
force someone to build a pond in their vacant lot.
uh,
It can be purchased, you know,
I'll back to David on that one.
but there's nothing else to do, but I don't think holding us hostage with
I
$43,000.
wouldn't say it's holding you hostage on it, we're just trying to do what's right.
That's
For our
not right,
residents.
by law, that's not right. It's
So
not.
you're gonna go down with that, with the Felino name on that one?
I'm not, we have no option, it's been 20 years.
Well, for now, it's getting tabled.
I just wanted to point out that there are legal remedies for the township that don't involve holding $43,000.
I guess we have to look at them at the domain then.
Excuse me, I have a question for you.
Sure.
The original engineering of that development, should have there been another pond, because I'm hearing that, the railroad's coming into play here. But from the get-go, my understanding, there should have been another pond there when it was developed, and it didn't happen. So with that being said, it still goes back to what you said, Mr. Mack. It's about the community, not about holding money hostage. It's about what's right for the community, period. Thank you.
Which plan, was that the McCarthy plan that?
I also know.
It was.
The McCarthy plan, because I was involved with that in the very beginning. It was a Vitillo plan. We went through the preliminary plan with that. And when I was looking at it for ENS, I had a bypass pipe that took all that water from Norfolk Southern around the site. Because right now, it's just running through and inundating the ponds, and those ponds aren't made, they don't have the size to be able to handle that water that comes in across the street. So if you can't solve the water that comes in across the street, you're never gonna be able to solve the problem.
Which, like I said, we've been discussing it and looking into it, and I wasn't involved in the initial phases of it. I don't even know if, I don't even know if SDE was involved in it
Yeah,
back then.
they
was it?
were, but 2002, and like Dan said, it started out as Vitillo.
And then that went to hell in a handbasket, and we're no longer involved with it, and then it went to McCarthy.
The last thing my clients want is to keep coming out and remedying this pond. Obviously, they don't want it to
Well, I
flood.
agree.
But if Grigoli's not willing to sell, or, he doesn't want his land used for a lot, and I can't get in touch with anyone from Norfolk, I welcome anyone to help me. My hands are tied, and I just think that the 43,000 is not the way to proceed.
And I spoke to Mr. Felina today, and I told him, this obviously predates me. I'm not up to speed. I told him I would have to get up to speed with the history, the purpose of these funds, and then I can give you, I can't give you a legal opinion tonight, whether we're allowed to keep it. I know he's gonna say we're not. I said, I'll look into it, I'll get up to speed with the township staff, and then, I can regroup. But I think tabling it tonight is the right move to, we're sure where we stand, where his arguments are, obviously where the HOA is and stuff like that. So, I know there's a lot of moving parts in your position. This is an HOA, it's a different basin. Very well may be true, so you have to figure out all those moving parts, and then I can give you some advice as to.
And Sal, my frustration is not directed at you. Like I said, the conversations were being had,
Right.
and then they just stopped. And I thought we were going down a path of sitting down and figuring this out, because this is what we're looking at. What is right here to do? And we had a good meeting, and all of a sudden, nothing happened. So I don't know why, I don't know where, what's going on. That's the frustrating part for me, because I think this could get resolved. But at the end of the day, we're pretty adamant about what needs to happen there, and we have to come up with a solution to stop that water.
Well, maybe the next step would be, having a meeting with the owner of that property. With Grigoli's.
Again, and maybe so, but at the time, they spoke on behalf, and it seemed like it was no big deal, like they could figure this out.
Right,
So,
I think
just
at the
putting
time,
that
they
out
were
there.
looking to do a development of some sort together, and then that fizzled, so then everything kind of fizzled.
That's
I
fine.
did shut down Tim.
Yeah, I was
In case
still
they
on
need
the
to
circle.
circle back, so, I don't know.
Tim,
In case you had some,
Yeah, Josh, you mentioned the rain a couple of weeks ago, and due to the inlet grading being completely plugged, it lifted off two upstream gradings. One was in Anna Avenue, which the township fixed that, but
Right.
they're on Lydia's parcel between two strip malls. There's a lifted off grading, which now allows larger debris to get in.
Is it still lifted off?
It
Okay,
was
I
a second, yeah.
haven't been down there, yeah, okay. I did see the one on the road, but I did not take notice of that one.
Well, my question is, if Norfolk Southern is a major problem for all the beginning of this water,
Well, see,
what can we do about that?
it's not necessarily. I was up there in the wintertime when we had major rain events. I was trudging through the snow, we got permission from, it was Keith and I, we looked at it. A lot of this is spring water coming off the mountain, so when the water table's high, it's all coming down. It's actually, majority it's coming from the wooded strip that goes straight up to the top of the hill. And all that's coming down, and it's going through one 48-inch diameter pipe. Now, that July 9th storm, when we went back there and took a look at it, there was 15 foot of water up against the bowels of the river tracks. Like, it was pretty impressive. And, quite frankly, there was a log laying across there blocking that pipe. Had it not been blocking that pipe, I think Melrose would have been completely underwater. it was slowing the velocity down a tremendous amount, so.
My understanding is the reason the engineers determined this size was appropriate way back when was because that amount of water was not coming in. But the increase is now caused because there's one blockage across the street, which now means it's all going down through
Well,
one less place.
it's cleared and again, I don't know how you're, so the Norfolk Southern right of way is literally 100 foot wide going straight through, so, you know, they're not gonna control, they're just putting pipes under their ballast to get it through. They're not putting ponds or anything like that in there because it's private property back there. But, you know, those are the homes that were back there put in the 70s or earlier. But a lot of that is, it's spring water coming off that hill. It's majority of the stuff going through the development, all that, does all go through the ponds on the other side, and that pretty much gets retained over there. Majority of the runoff is coming from the water table, so, is where that's coming from. But,
Mr. Chairman, if I may point
Sure.
something else out. Sal, a lot of the stormwater operation and maintenance agreements have that the entity responsible for maintenance, pretty much after the storm event, needs to go out. It can't be once a week, it has to be after every storm event, that way that inlet structure and any debris near the outlet structure is cleaned out, so the next storm event has a chance of passing. So I just wanna point that, that's normal, it usually says after such and such storm event. I mean, that's gonna, so if you wanna go back and ask the landscape where is the maintenance entity, that's really what should be implemented. If they go out other times to then maintain things, great, but it's typically, the trigger is after the storm event to go clean up. It doesn't mean melt, doesn't mean to get in there and muck things up, it's to really clear the debris. So that would be my main recommendation.
no, Dawn?
One of the questions I have, I realize that what you guys are talking about tonight and, what Mr. Foligno is here talking about is Pond Lot 2, behind the drugstore. However, when they handed this off to us, and Mr. Foligno is the one that did it, so he's perfectly aware, it wasn't you, it was,
Mike Gumbar from Masano Bradley.
no, you were sitting right in the back, and he just presented it. You knew exactly what was going on.
Well, knowing what's going on is different than doing it.
So when that happened, I wanna be certain that I've got this clear, that it was taken to the township. The township had already stated that Pond Lot 1 had some deficiencies from the flood, and the flood had washed away a bank from the back, there was a tree missing, there were things that weren't done. And in all our documentation for all the things that were wrong, you know, one of the things that I believe is stated in our documentation is when they hand it over to us, it is going to be in the way it's supposed to be. So again, the question I have is, you know, they did not hand it over to us like that. They did not follow any of the recommendations. They did not, it should have been all up and running. We should have, you know, it should have been able to be handed over to us in a way that we could just step into it. They didn't come in here with, any, you know, financials. They didn't come in to us with money in the bank. They had never started assessments. And so they never started our HOA. And they did not take care of those. So I'd like to know from the township and be sure of when that letter went out to them to identify and clarify what those delinquencies were and the problems were.
Okay, so I think there's probably a little confusion on timeline. The development itself had its inspections prior to the flooding that happened in 2023. And the Conservation District issued an NOT, a notice of termination, stating that their stuff was complete, and there was a minor punch list on our part. But they did clean up everything but this basin that we were talking about tonight. The inspection that SDE did in 2023 was a result of the flooding, not a result of the land development ending. So the letter that was generated, and I think it was at the end of the year of 2023, was because of the damage caused by the flooding, not because they didn't do what they were supposed to in their improvements agreement.
So are you saying then that they're not responsible to fix those items that you found to be deficient after the flooding?
That is not for the township to decide.
Two
That
different
is,
standards.
yeah, there's two different standards. So we issued the letter to the owner at the time, then it changed hands. I really think it's a legal matter between the HOA and the developer. We are simply saying whoever the owner is needs to fix the basin. And because that development is as old as it is, we do not have an operation and maintenance agreement on that basin. That didn't start until later, maybe mid-2000s, when we were forced to do that by the DEP. For our
Meaning,
investment.
what's an operation? Explain that.
That gives the township the ability and the right to enter onto private property to fix stormwater.
I disagree, there's a stormwater agreement that does give the township the right to enter and correct issues.
I'm just gonna, I think it's tabled for now.
We need to review.
We need to I need to get Eric up to snuff on this, he needs to get dug into this, and then, then we can continue this on, so.
I may be visiting the township to go over some files with you.
I had them out today, I know where they are.
Yeah,
I just have one quick question.
sure.
Does the township still have the original blueprints of that development?
We do, but because of the change to the basin, there's other things that, it's not just the original recorded plan, it's another
But
recorded
you
plan
do
as well.
have the original
Oh, yeah.
approval plan.
I have the paper and I have the electronic.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
This is the, I'll call it the Giorgio Park Road and they submitted plans and documents. So they would like a letter, they being SSM on behalf of Giorgio, understanding the drainage and traffic control. Updates to the HOP plans are acceptable to the township and I have no problem with that. So that's what I'm recommending. Diane, you could actually do the letter.
Okay.
Because I think that we did something else to Mark before.
Yeah.
From SSM.
I can do that for you. Yep.
All right, do I have a motion to authorize Diane to write a letter regarding the revised, approving the revised Georgia HOP and detour plans?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
That's all I have this evening, so I'm going to run to my next. So thank you, and again, sorry it was late.
And Pamela, there's a subdivision plan there for review for the planning commission meeting.
I'll add it to,
And there's one there for Michael for Greenwich. Thank you for taking that to
no
him.
worries, no worries, as long as it's not the big box.
Oh,
And if, I'm giving him some, just not interrupting the meeting anymore. This is a copy of the latest grant application that we did, so you just have the application, and they go, thank you. Get out of your hair, and you're all done.
All right, Eric?
Oh, that's not bad.
You're gone.
Well, next one. Yeah, next one.
Add it to the list.
All right, Public Works Department, Keith,
Something on my list.
that's you. Oh, you wanna give me to give the summary? I can do it.
Nothing on
Just your name, that's all.
You know your name?
No, the guys have been working pretty hard and, they got the yard waste facility, like, are we ready to push that out yet? You want time before I?
A little more
time.
Well, I can make the statement anyway, what's going on. It's not usable, yeah, I've got it anyway. It's not quite usable yet, but the gate, for the yard waste recycle center is transforming from a back end to a pull-through facility. Slide gate is in, we put a motor operator on it, we will have to send out directions on Aaron. It is, you pull to the gate will open, then you will go out. I believe it's turned off right now, we're not quite there yet, because they wanna do some more tweaking to it. But, it's coming soon, and I think the new and improved, facility is gonna be a lot better. So, good job to the road crew on getting that done.
We're gonna tweet, not tweet.
Yeah, we're gonna tweak, not tweak. They're currently, we're pretty much 2/3 of the way with, the park work that you're doing?
The fence?
Yeah, no, All right, well, you may see them out there, they're working on doing the Parks and Rec, we did the approval for the fence and pickleball courts, so they're saving us a bunch of money by doing it by themselves, and I was there the other day, and it was pretty good, so. Yeah, and, that's pretty much tidied up, the corner parking and 73 looks good, it's planted, stained, everything looks good. We're checking a lot of things off the list with our road crew, so thanks to them.
And Mike Melita, did do a fundraising for the pickleball fence, and so far he's raised $1,250. So thank you to Mike, I don't think he's here tonight.
No,
Not here.
hope every little bit helps when stuff like that.
And I'll tell you what, it's being used during the daytime. I stopped the other day and it was like,
It's always used.
yeah. Every court but one was being used, and that one wasn't being used because it was being maintained, so.
They're starting a library in the park.
I saw there was a bunch of people on the pavilion.
Yeah,
There's
so
a bunch of little kids.
Fleetwood Library is
Yeah.
gonna come down and, they do, I guess, story hour, and they do that once a week in our park, so that's a nice thing that they're doing for us this year.
Sounds good, I think that's all that I can think of right now. What's going on? All right, Parks and Rec, Aaron.
A couple things, for the Veterans Memorial, just kinda wanted to see where you guys are at. I think it'd be a good time to look at the fundraising, just try to start that to generate some, money to do the project. Don't know how you guys wanna do the fundraising. There's like websites that do it for us, or the township would do it and have somebody, I don't know, I just want some direction for you guys, kinda where we wanna go with it, so we can get started with it and, make this, come to life.
I had made the suggestion to Aaron, I spoke to him, last meeting or thereabouts, about the Veterans Memorial location. And, after kind of thinking about it, I was thinking that around the flagpole by the concession stand at the pavilion, we got cameras there for surveillance if need be. I thought it'd be kind of neat to maybe, build that up and do like a paver patio with some memorial stones there or something like that. But the idea with it being a paver is, you do that, you get your names and whatever etched in the block for certain, like legions and whatever, do it for a fee.
Yeah.
And then basically you would put the paver patio in, and as you get them, you pull the block out, put it in, and move on. But I think that would open up a lot for a lot of people to really get involved if that's what they truly want to do.
Any Eagle Scout
You know?
candidates coming up that may want to have a project, and that would be a great project. I shared some photos of a Eagle Scout project that was a Veterans Memorial, and it looked really, really great. Looked simple and not very costly, but it looked really sharp, so maybe we could probably look into the local scout troop, see if there's anybody up and coming that may be looking for a project.
Sure.
And that could also be another way to facilitate it as well.
The Girl Scouts were also there, and their eyes kind of opened wide as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Mr.
sure.
Girl Scout.
I was almost thinking along the lines, like I said, hitting up a landscaper to kind of come in and at least give us maybe an idea conceptually or something like that, and, then maybe hit them up for a donation, but, they got a crew too, I get it, so that's a tough sell, but, there's a few of them might be willing to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next on the list, park event idea considerations. Getting some feedback from the public about some extra events we can possibly do in the park. Some things that were brought up were like karaoke, trivia night, bingo perhaps. Some of those things require additional things that the township need to get. I just seeing where you guys are at with that as far as your thoughts on us hosting events like that. More in the park related, events that would be like free to the public, just to generate more, events for everybody, essentially. We don't really do much in the summertime as a Parks and Rec department, so just looking to try to add some stuff to the park so that residents can come enjoy and have some fun, so.
I think, I'm gonna throw this out there, I didn't even say anything today. I stopped in the other day, and they were doing the fence, yesterday, they were doing the fence, and Giorgio had a picnic going on, but they had, Mr. Stahl, who was there, and there was a hamburger thing there. I said, it'd be kinda neat to do like a food truck Friday or something like that, but I'm gonna preface it with probably trial basis because of trash and stuff like that. But, you know, there's companies around in town and stuff, and employees start getting wind of it. I
Yeah.
think it could be a pretty good deal. So,
I know
Is
there's
there an
several
issue
local
with
ones, yeah.
Not making it open to all trucks? Is it okay for us to
To limit it.
contract with
Yeah,
certain
you
trucks? I
just
thought
do
there was an issue.
do a rotation on it.
Yeah, I think we sign up and they have to be willing to donate some proceeds to Park and Rec, so not everybody's gonna wanna do that.
Yeah.
But we allow it open and we can schedule them on certain days so that they're not all there at the same time. As far as bingo, that does require a small game and chance license.
Mhm.
However, if you talk to the gentleman that runs the bingo over here, he might be able to run one for you as a nonprofit. You gotta talk to him though, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but he's got the licenses and he's allowed to sponsor certain
Okay. Mhm.
nonprofits, cause I think he does for the fire company in the
Yeah.
ambulance. Once in a
Yeah.
while.
Mhm. Okay.
A little easier than having me get a bingo license, there's a lot of things you gotta do for that,
Yeah, I
but
did
it
not-
can be done. It can be done.
Whatever's more effective is the best way to do it, so. Just looking for other ideas again. Do some additional things.
Movie night a while ago.
Yeah, we did movie night,
Yeah.
I think we got pretty good attendance when we did it outside, because it's kinda neat, there's no drive-in movie theaters around,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
people really like that.
Yeah, I think our next one will definitely be in the park. The first one, not a lot of folks showed up. It was a success. Everything worked out great. The kids enjoyed the movie and everything. The movie choice was great. But yeah, I was right. I think having it in the park will have a lot more people show up for it. So it's definitely the direction we're going to be going when we do host another. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
The other thing was the fire company court. Just a question here is, I'm not sure if anybody's reached out from the relief at all to you guys regarding that. I did speak to somebody at the last meeting and that was on the board and mentioned it to them. I didn't know if anything came up of it. Do you guys, I don't know if any heard anything?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay, alright. I think at this point we can just take it off the agenda moving forward. You know, I've reached out a couple times, nothing, so I don't.
I think that their major project at the moment is the parking lot, right, Jim? Yeah,
Okay.
that's the concern right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, we can look at that another, you know, in the future, if, they're willing to look at it with us.
And since we're in June right now, just to bring everybody up to speed, August isn't that far away. National Night Out will be coming up. So keep that in your radar. We'll be announcing it more as we get closer.
Park and Rec will be there.
What did you guys do last year, walking tacos?
Walking tacos, we couldn't cook the meat fast enough. Yes, it was very busy, it was a very big success, we were able to secure some donations from Frito-Lay, which helped, and I believe they donated 500 bags of Doritos. So, and I think we'll look to do the same thing this year, again, it was a success, so. I'm gonna bring my Blackstone this time though. I think that'll be a lot faster than crock pots. So, just, you know, every year we figure out better ways to do it. So, but yeah, we had a good success last year, and we'll continue doing it. I think the tacos were great, something different, no hot dogs, and it was a lot easier to facilitate that too in the end. So, yeah, we'll definitely be there for National Day this year.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Manager, Diane, anything?
Sure, I can update you on some things that we've been doing. Nick and I met with DocStar this week. We'll be getting a quote on electronic records. I think it's time that we do move some, and we'll have a choice of putting it on a server or in the cloud. We have to see what the price is. Either way, we own the records, should we decide to go somewhere else. I contacted MedEd on streetlight conversion to LED, and just an update for the public. MedEd has put us on the list. They will update all of the streetlights that they own at no cost to the township, and then we can look at a project with the bond money to update the rest of ours, and then we get a special rate, which is much lower because streetlights currently cost us about $100,000 a year for electric. LED, I would hope, would cut that in half. So that's an ongoing project. We received a subdivision plan that'll be on the planning commission's agenda. The property Everybody's been asking what the stakes were over at the roundabout at Schaefer Road. Well, now we know. They're just planning a simple subdivision to subdivide the commercial lot off of the residential. So no development at this time, it's just a simple subdivision. I think that's everything for me with source to water protection. Eric and I are working on that. But that should happen in the next few months, that we should be ready to adopt that. And I submitted the annual bond report.
Okay. All right, any questions for that? All righty, new business. Consider approval of closing Fleming Street for a block party Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, from noon to 9 PM. Rain date will be August 30th. We did this last year. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I knew why you're here.
Yep. Kamina Davis, 190 Fleming Street. I'm here again as a representative for Fleming Street, so I'm here to answer any questions or take back any feedback you have about the block party. We had it last year. People were excited. People came from other blocks, and neighbors as well as the youth were looking forward to it again. And we did get a chance to meet a lot of our neighbors we have been talking to, and because we did it, some more people were expressing interest. So the other point with some of the people I've met, majority wants to contribute and do their own thing to the fund, but one neighbor did ask if there was financial support for things like this in the township. I have to ask it, if that's a possibility, but for the most part, the residents are willing to do what they need to do to make it happen.
I think we're okay shutting it down, you know, and letting you guys do your thing, as long as it doesn't get out of hand. We haven't had any complaints on it, so,
Right.
I think,
We'll put the barricades out
Yeah.
the day before, well, probably the Thursday before, since the guys are on 410s, but we don't have funds for block parties, because there's so
We'll let them
many,
know.
so many developments, everybody would want some.
I will let them know. Okay, anything change in terms of the stipulations? I believe last year we had to make sure sound was off by 10.
Right.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
You still have to make notification to the emergency services.
Yeah, we'll send a letter out.
Yeah,
and then
okay.
copy that one.
Okay, so no action by me on
No,
that?
we'll take care of
Okay.
that.
Anything else?
Good luck.
No,
No, we had no complaints, did a good job.
Thank you.
sounds good. Thank you. I was like, we need a vote. for-
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion to consider approval.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I knew what it was.
Yeah. I didn't have to.
Yeah, well.
All right, consider action on 36-month fixed electric pricing contract at .0656 per kilowatt hour with Constellation.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, consider action on preemption system for Park Road and Main Street traffic signal for emergency services. Do I have a motion?
And just one,
Did you want to talk about it?
cost estimate was 18.7 on that. And that covers everything that they need at this point, correct? Okay.
Is that the in-vehicle items too?
Yeah.
No, I don't, it does not.
What's it, labor, it says trucks, so I assume that includes that, but like, are we,
Lead time for equipment delivery is 8 to 10 weeks, when we think that would include the.
did they want to know how many
You have
vehicles?
your preemption equipment in the vehicles already, correct?
Yes, all of the fire company's equipment we have switched over, so it's already installed in our equipment.
So you just need it for the lights?
Does anybody know if the police department has it in theirs?
I'm not sure, I believe it's becoming standard on the new cruisers, I'm not sure if they're all on that or not.
Okay, and EMS as well.
EMS has it, it's just
Okay.
part of them.
Well, so that should eliminate that need.
Yeah, that's fine, I just wanted to make sure.
What's the cost on
18.7. How do I tell?
Just-
Yeah, mine don't do
Okay,
that.
I figured.
Yeah, I have one that's different.
Oh, no, that's fine, I think you're on something. All right,
Quick question, could someone describe what a preemption system is?
Preemption is for emergency vehicles. It'll turn all the lights red so the emergency vehicles can pass through with all traffic stopped.
Gotcha.
There've been a few near misses, and people just don't understand sirens, they don't understand emergency lights. So you have to do something like this, and there's still no guarantee that somebody's not gonna run the red light. So, but it opens it up for the emergency vehicle to be able to pass as safely as possible, with hopefully the traffic stopped. So it gives them at least a better chance. And
Really came to the topic, I mean, this has been discussed for a little bit anyway, but, yes, there's been a lot of near misses, plus as you know, we had
we've had recent crashes.
well, troopers, police officers got.
Yeah, so we're trying to make things safer as best we can. And I'll make the motion to spend $18,700 to install the emergency preemption system. And this is, yeah, this is through Telco,
Oh, right.
who handles the traffic lights.
Like, do you wanna use the bond?
I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, you should.
It's a safety device, too, so.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, the last item on here is, the proposal for professional services. I'm gonna push that down to, we need to have a part of the discussion on that's in an executive session. So I'm gonna slide that down to the executive session, for personnel and other matters. So for now, I'm gonna slide down and do, approval of the bills and acceptance of the treasurer's report as presented.
Motion.
Got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Should I go do a public comment? Okay, so do we have a public comment for non-agenda items?
Aye.
Okay, hang on one second, row one, or sorry, row two.
You can go up to row one.
Row
You can
two,
move real quick.
row three, now you may.
I'm so sorry, I don't do this that often.
You're fine.
Time's up.
My name is Ann Santiago, I live at 217 Spirit Court, and I'm just asking for an update on the Cornerstone Bridge. Three-part question, actually. Cornerstone Bridge, and then, I was here 2 months ago, and I thought they had talked about, the lady, I think she left, they talked about a grant, or maybe that might have been, grant that was received. And, if there's like an expiration date on that, or if that's open-ended. And also, there was mention of, updates being put on the website, and I looked and looked, and I can't
Well,
find it.
it's, so we're, I can address it, I just met with, was it Tuesday, I think it was. I met at, Cornerstone with all utility parties. We wanted to go over, they have to go under the creek, so, we wanted to make sure all parties are on the same page, but let me back up a step. The bridge is ordered, we ordered that through the township, through CoStar, so that is, as we speak, being manufactured. I think there's a 10 to 12 week turnaround period on that. So, they're manufacturing, they'll be shipping it out, and, so right now, we're trying to get all the other ducks in a row. We have all of our, permits in place for everything, I think.
Except the utilities need to piggyback on our permit, so
Well, that-
it needs to be modified.
Right, so we're gonna have, yeah, so Med Ed's looking into, what they need to do on their side. UGI thinks okay with what we came up with, they're looking at, they have to see if they have open permits from before that they can piggyback into. If not to hold things up, we're gonna try to get them on ours, so that we can just get everything moving through and be, hopefully as smooth as possible. So all the telecoms, we got together with, as you guys have all seen, we have Comcast out there right now. Frontier's looking to do work in town. They're all making a push to put fiber optic and whatever the latest and greatest is. So, again, those folks are involved in the meeting, and looking at what the solution would be to get them through. And honestly, I couldn't believe it, I work in the utility industry, and having everybody there at one time and everybody having an agreement within 45 minutes, I was mind-boggled that it happened, but, so that was kind of reassuring that everybody's on the same page, and the biggest one, and I made sure to let them know it, is Med Ed. Med Ed tends to be a little bit slower on things, but, she understood the whole board. They actually had 3 representatives there, so they understand that, but we're trying to make sure that everything goes smooth as possible, and they pretty much knew in front of all the utilities that if there's an issue there, the delay. So, the money that we got from the grant was 86.
3 years we have.
We have 3 years for that, yep. So all that was through the gambling money through the state.
But what I'm probably gonna do is I'm probably gonna use that to pay for part of the bridge.
Right, right,
I think that's,
yeah,
then we'll close that out quickly.
right.
Great, so then, is there a space on the website, cause I keep looking and
I think at some point we'll get something up there.
Okay.
We just haven't,
it's not there yet.
we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle together yet, so I think more or less, once we have all that stuff in there, and, you'll probably start seeing it honestly, once, you'll probably see it mobilized, we'll probably put a date out saying, hey, this is getting shut down from here to here, and then
Okay.
probably from there on,
Any tentative timeframe, just,
there isn't yet, really.
Now, people keep giving me different timeframes, and I'm thinking next year is probably more realistic.
okay, alright, like next spring, spring?
I'm pushing to have it done by December,
It is pushing.
but Diane's probably a little bit more realistic on it, huh?
He's pushing.
This December, oh yeah.
Alright.
Merry Christmas.
We'll be starting a pool to see if Josh.
Put the folks that make it happen.
Underneath the bridge.
I made it very clear to all utility companies that there's an urgency here.
And the bridge has been ordered, you said?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Bridge is
Awesome, thank you so much.
So we'll set it alongside the road.
Yeah, where are we gonna put it?
It is gonna get, it's gonna get shut down and the road actually, so basically there's two driveways that are really close to that bridge on Cornerstone. So those will be open on either, obviously either side, but on the inner sides of that is basically gonna be shut down for our laydown area. We have to back excavate it to put foundations into the bridge and, so, and then the UGI needs to taper it back too because they can't bend they have a main line that goes through there, so.
Well, where's the bridge gonna be stored?
Well, it's gonna be in pieces, so
Yeah.
it'll be stored here in the yard,
Okay.
and it gets assembled on site.
Just-
Yeah.
For those that don't know, it looks like a military Quonset hut, it's the easiest way to explain it. They bolt it all together, backfill it with stone, put the road over top of it, and,
It's like more complicated.
you've never watched MASH?
Gavin's trying to figure out what the Quonset hut is. That was before your time.
But yeah, it's, once it gets here, like I said, it's a lot of, it literally is like a giant erector set. I mean, it just gets bolted together for the most part, and then the earth is what kind of holds it down, and then the concrete on the wing walls. But even the concrete's prefab, they bring it in, and it's Lego blocks, so.
That's more understanding.
Hopefully all be surprised at December.
Can't say Lincoln. For the record, I prefer the rifleman, that's why.
All right, last round, any questions?
Yeah, but Joe Glory, 284 West Walnut Street Drive. I got a letter here from the EMS, which was discussed at the one meeting. Interesting. My question, my point is, have you had conversation with the other 8 municipalities that haven't decided to support this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have, I mean, you
There have
guys
been
went,
countywide
Yeah.
meetings. And at this point, there are still some municipalities that don't care.
I understand, we went through the counties, I got that, but this is
Yeah.
basically stating that they're serving 10 municipalities. Maidencreek and Leesport's taking the leadership, but now you got Onalani, which business is booming, and other areas. Do you guys meet with these other 8 or whatever to discuss it, or is it just something that's left out there, they don't have it, and we provide the service?
So not with everyone, but some of them have been contacted and have had conversations and are looking for putting additional funding in their next budget cycle. So I expect 3 or 4 of the ones that aren't contributing as much as us to come on board for the next year. And it's gonna be a slow process, but something to point out, we are 29% of the calls year to date. And the other municipalities, the next closest one would be 8%. So we are far and away the biggest user of that ambulance service.
Well, that's fine, and if you have to look at a percentage aspect, that's fine, but at least, you know, look, they're still getting that service, whether it's only 8% and we're doing 29. I understand, I'm
It's the
just,
same way with the police department and the fire services
oh, I'm
as
not even
well.
gonna get at that, we'll keep it at the EMS.
But contact is being made.
yeah, it has, it definitely has, and it's been brought up at meetings. like, I think I said it at a meeting, I wasn't very well liked at that meeting.
No, I was there with the county, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Arnold Lonnie's got all this business, they can contribute more to the police department too, we can get into that discussion.
No.
Alright, but anyway, thank you, appreciate it.
Anything else, last round? Alright, we're going to, break for executive session, and we will have, action afterwards, so.
Yeah.